Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to our beloved lecturer, Miss Fatimah Munirah binti Abu Bakar. I am Muhammad Hafiz Ayat bin Muhammad Aizal, and this is my partner, Naim Zuhair. And we are from class Cat to C, and today we will present on our report, which is how psychology affects daily spending amongst the community. As we all know, money and psychology are very common in our daily life. It actually influences our daily lives. So me and Naim Zuhad, are attracted to this topic, as this can be the main reason why we overspend or why we don't manage our money properly.
Okay, for the first is money is one of the most valuable assets someone can own. We can say that someone we know or someone that are viral over the internet became rich with money, and some become broke with money. Um, the question is how some people can manage to balance their income and expenses while others are wasting it on unnecessary things. This the the management of the money could be the major cause of the differences between someone who became rich and someone who became broke. So we conducted this research to analyze the various differences between people. The survey showed that our priorities influence our spending, and which means every person have different priorities, and every age group have different priorities. So we need to realize the factors and control our monthly spending to ensure that our money are well managed. Moving to the background study, psychology means the study of the mind and behavior, which means psychology influence our everyday lives and choices. Um, every individual on planet Earth spends money and differs from countries, which means every person on every state in every country have different way of spending money, but the point is the same: to get the service or products we want. Psychology develops, which means our spending will also expand over time. We tend to spend money based on our needs and priorities. So um, we are less likely to spend on things that doesn't came into our mind. Money spending can be because of our spending spree or our own needs and personalities. Um, Take an example: when we go to the grocery shopping, we use lots of money at a time, or we need to buy a phones or makeups, so we spend money there. Next, some people are too focused in fulfilling their needs without considering their actual income, which means that some people spend more than what they make. This will cause a problem if the money spending management is not managed accordingly. By doing this research, people can realize their habits and improve in order to maximize efficiency, especially in arranging their finance.
So as we have learned, what we have done is we have distributed 25 question to our respondents, which consists of people from all walks of life. We have shared to them, we have asked them, we have analyzed the data, and this is the findings. The first question is the gender. Most of our respondents are female, with 64% of it is female. And the second question is their age, which is an enormous 86% of them are aged between 16 to 25, with most of them also aged above 35. And also, this study is also conducted because psychology also affects by our surroundings, by our place of living. For example, as you can see here, 48% of our respondents live in suburban areas, with the people that live in urban area is 30% and the people in rural area is 22%. So we also ask our respondents what is their current monthly income, and it shows that 23%, 23 of the people that participated have no current monthly income, with the second most, 19 of the respondents have an income of below 1,000 ringgit. The fifth question is we ask them from their monthly income, how much money do they spend on a monthly basis? We can see here that 80% of it, a gigantic amount, 40 people spend less than 500 ringgit. This shows that, as we can see, a lot of them doesn't have a monthly income, but they also spend money less than 500 ringgit, which means they spend more than what they make in a month. So our sixth question is we ask them, do they think that their commitments influence their spending? As because if we have commitments, we can see here that most of them agree that commitments does influence their spending. The seventh question is we ask them, where do they spend their monthly income? And we can see here that 34 respondents, which is 68%, told us, gave response that says they spend their money on food, mainly on food. This shows that their priorities at the time, because they are students, their priority is their food. So this shows that they prioritize and things that are priority, they will spend their monthly income towards their priorities. And the eighth question, we also ask them, what do they consider most when spending money? And the answer is very diverse. And we can see that most of them spend money while considering the most is savings. When they consider savings the most, then they spend their money. Then the next question is we ask them at their current age group, how much is their monthly savings? And we can see that most of our respondents, 20 or 40% of it, more than any of other category, they don't have any monthly savings at the moment. Whereas we also ask them about where do they mostly spend their money. Is it using physical shopping or do they use online shopping such as Lazada, Shopee, and so on? So we continue on with we ask them, does online shopping makes them want to spend more as there are lots of discounts? And and not surprisingly, most of them answered that is true for them. Because what? Because if there are lots of discounts, there is something called social facilitation, which means that they are inclined to spend more as there are lots of discounts and they think it's beneficial for them. And the 12th question is if there are sales such as 11 and specialized dates such as Boxing Day that will be coming up, would they increase their spending, and would they increase their spending? And 19 of them, which is 38%, the most out of the answers, answered true, which is it does influence and increase their monthly spending. So we continue by asking them a few more questions, which is people in this group spend more at this age, which they also agree, and they said that it's true that most of the people at their age group will spend more money at this age. The 14th question is that we ask them is if the money that they get now, their monthly income, do they spend their money on themselves or instead of their family or people around them? So most of them answered that it is neutral or it is true, in which they will spend on themselves. So this shows that students, most of our respondents are students, spend money on themselves because their priorities at the moment is themselves. So the 15th statement is my spending habits will remain the same as I get older, and most of them, 16 people, which is 32%, disagree and think that it is untrue that their current spending habits right now will remain the same when they get older, which means they think that if they get older, maybe if they have children, they have family, then their spending habits will be different. So we also compare how psychology affects from their place of living. As we can see earlier, we have people from urban, suburban, and city areas. So what we have seen here is that most of them agreed that our livelihood will affect our daily spending. The next statement is our spending is influenced by the current trend, and most of them also agree that our spending does influence by our current trend, with also the same amount almost the same amount of people think it is neutral, whereas they are not sure, they are just around the border, which they think current trend does not or do influence their current spending. So at their age, at the respondents age, my spending is partly influenced by my friends, and 16 of them agree to this, and in which they do think that their spending is partly influenced by their friends. So the one of the last questions that we ask them is, do we spend more as we get older? And not surprisingly, 78% agree that we do spend more as we get older.
So what we can conclude from the finding is that more than half or more than 50% of the respondents are female, aged 16 to 20 years old, and they spend less than 500 ringgit a month, and they spend their money on foods and beverages. Also, commitments influence their spending. They prefer online shopping over physical shopping. They were also influenced by special day discounts and promotions, such as Christmas sale or 11/11. Uh, Most of them also agree that different age have different spending habits, and they agree that in their age group, people in their age group would spend more money than what they save. They also wouldn't have the same spending habits as they grow older. This prove when they grow older, they would start working and making more money, so their spending habits would be more than what they have now. They also neither agree or disagree with their comfort in their spending habits. They are also influenced by where they live and sometimes by peers or friends around their age group. And they agree that they would spend more when they go older. Moving on to the next, less than 50% of the respondents are living in suburban area, having no income and no savings. They would consider their savings the most when spending. They will also have an organized and well-managed spending habits. They also neither agree or disagree, which means they are natural, that brand marketing influence their spending. But current trends that are going on may influence their spending. The last is the exactly half of the respondent. They think that people in their age group doesn't save money, and they only spend their money, and they spend money on themselves instead of their relatives and friends.
So my friend just now Naim Zuhar have shared to us and have told us the conclusions from our report, from our research. So what are the recommendations to improve our money management skills, to improve our money strategies? So there are a few recommendations that we suggest, which is the first one is we have to plan our spending based on our income. For example, if we have an income of 2,000, we cannot spend 2,500, but we have to spend something close to 1,000 and so on. And the second thing is we have to save before we spend, because most of the people nowadays, the stigma from the public is that we have to spend and then the rest we save. That is wrong, because lots of fund managers, asset managers, a lot of them recommend, advise people to save first, and then the rest maybe they can spend. That's the second thing. The third thing is we cannot get easily deceived, because we can see brand marketing, advertisements, and so on in YouTube, Instagram, and so on. But we have to analyze and we have to learn the product before we buy or we approach it to purchase it for ourselves. The fourth one is we have to focus on product quality. As I have said earlier, that we cannot just be deceived by the great brand marketing, great video, and so on, but we have to focus on the product quality and what are the effects of the product to us. Thus, this shows that if we have that, we will spend money accordingly. The fifth one is we have to organize our spending based on our we have to organize our spending habits, because as we can see here that if we organize our spending habits, we will have a much more easier money management skills, and we have a much more better income management, and we will be happier as a whole, because we will not have debts, we will not have big problems, and we will not be entitled to any payment and so on. So a few more recommendations that we could give is that firstly, we cannot be influenced by trends, because trends comes and go. So what we have to do as individuals, we have to learn the priorities, how the priorities affect us, and how the trends affect us. We have to understand that the trend, we are allowed to follow the trend, but not to be influenced by it. So the second thing is we have to choose friends wisely, because if we choose friends that spends lots of money, then we will spend a lot of money. If we choose friends that save a lot of money, then we will save a lot of money. So we have to choose our friends. And if you want to have a better future, better savings, choose a friends that save a lot more. Choose a friend that find the middle ground, in which we will not spend, we will not purchase lots of things, lots of needs, but we will spend accordingly to our current monthly income. Then the last two ones is firstly, we have to avoid malls, shopping complex, because they can influence our spending and make us want to spend more. They can lead to impulse buying and so on. And the last thing, we have to prioritize our essentials, as we have proven through the report that if our commitments influence our spending, and if we prioritize our essentials, then we won't have any debts, we won't have any problems, as we will finish our essentials, we will accomplish our essentials first. Thus, this means that by this way, we can manage our money properly.
Okay, so based on what we presented, we can see that psychology plays a big role in how we spend our money in our daily life. So we hope that you guys can manage your income and expenses so that you wouldn't be short in money, and you would not end up in debt in the end of the month. So that's all from us. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.